Ed has given you a view about the changes that might come in the UK and following the Professor Lofsted's report. And I want to just give a slightly different view of what I think in my experience might well happen over this period. I was involved in the 1994 previous review of legislation, which was conducted by one of the Conservative Deputy Prime Ministers, Mr. Heseltine, and he spoke of having a bonfire of regulations, which was true, but many of the regulations that were taken out at that time were never ever enforced in recent years in British industry, and therefore meant very little to them. And if I could now look at the current review, Professor Lofsted has reviewed some 200 pieces of health and safety law, and there's been a pretty large public consultation. But Lofsted found that the UK's health and safety system is broadly fit for purpose. He recommended that sector-specific consolidation could see the overall number of regulations reduced by 35% by April 2015. However, the government's direct response states that it will implement the recommendations of the report, along with the ongoing health and safety executive plans, but they want to cut regulation by at least 50% by April 2014. The Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, IOSH, has expressed its concern that this new 50% target is arbitrary and isn't backed by evidence, and that there is a risk that the Lofsted recommended consolidation could be overstated and interpreted as deregulation. Professor Lofsted told a forum in London on Tuesday the 17th of January 2012 that he was not in favour of radical reform, contradicting the British Prime Minister David Cameron's attack earlier this month on the monster of health and safety. David Cameron referenced Lofsted's December report, which the government commissioned, as he blamed the albatross of health and safety legislation for holding back British business. But the professor, speaking at the Westminster Legal Policy Forum, insisted that he had never called for significant changes to legal policy and found no evidence of a compensation culture. At the meeting, Lofsted was asked by Prospect Deputy General Secretary Mike Clancy whether he had concerns about the government's treatment of his review. He told the audience that his proposal to lift health and safety requirements for the self-employed applied only to those who could do no harm to others. He explained that while novelists or computer programmers need not fill in assessment forms, the likes of construction and agricultural workers should not and never will be subject to more lenient health and safety rules. David Cameron also disclosed on the 5th of January that he had asked the Health and Safety Executive to bring forward to the end of 2012 its timetable for abolishing or consolidating up to half of all existing regulation. This is likely to be more about perception than substance. It is relatively easy to cut a significant number of regulations, as they tend to grow like topsy during the lifetime of a parliament with little effort put into a major cull. The first proposals for revoking 7 such regulations, published on the 23rd of January 2012, would have little or no effect on 99% of businesses. The major pieces of health and safety legislation come from the EU directives and cannot be changed overnight. Gold-plating such directives can be sensibly rolled back. However, the Health and Safety at Work Act, Section 1, may need to be removed first if David Cameron is to make any progress towards taking away working people's protection. Legal challenges will be made if it remains in place, as it requires new legislation to maintain or enhance existing legislation. Exempting low-risk self-employed will make no difference, as many ignored their obligations anyway. Tax requirements are far more burdensome to such people. Over the next 2 years, we will see a removal of a number of irrelevant regulations, exemption for the low-risk self-employed, and a reduction in the enforcement effort. We will also see more information coming out of the HSE, trying to make health and safety simple. This has started in earnest on the HSE's website already. We may see lawyers somewhat muzzled on some compensation claims, and we will certainly see more people fail to get compensation for work injuries and ill health.